Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a college football game preview and prediction on one of the big matchups coming up in the SEC in Week 10 of this 2020 season, and that's going to be between Texas A&M and South Carolina. And this is going to be a big matchup for both teams. Obviously, on the Texas A&M side, they are now a top 10 team in the nation. There's the pressure of being that, plus considering Texas A&M could be a potential national contender, especially if they can beat Alabama out for that SEC West division. Yeah, this is a very important game for Texas A&M to win, especially if they want to be a playoff team come in the later months. For South Carolina, this is a team that's 2-3 right now, so honestly it hasn't been too terrible of a season considering for South Carolina, but they could easily switch their momentum around, and this could be a huge win for South Carolina if they can get a win here. So a very important game for both of these teams, and we're going to be going over a full preview and prediction on it, starting out with your team trends. Last week, Texas A&M beat Arkansas 42-31, which a win's a win. I will say that. That's usually what I like to say, but the thing is, though, Arkansas, they're not any more than a mediocre team right now. And for Texas A&M to allow 31 points to Arkansas is something that is a little bit concerning, because for Texas A&M, you can't be a team that's going to be a national contender if you allow 31 points to Arkansas. So, yeah, Texas A&M does have to fix it up on defense if they're going to be a real national contender. But once again, 11-point win over an Arkansas team that has actually been halfway decent this season is pretty good. But still, allowing 31 points there is something that you do not want to do if you want to be a college football playoff team. As for South Carolina, they lost to LSU a couple of weeks ago, 24-52. Obviously, LSU got beat up by Auburn last week, but LSU actually beat South Carolina by a very convincing fashion a couple of weeks ago. And as for the winning streaks for both these teams, Texas A&M currently has a 3-game winning streak, and they're ranked 7th in the nation. They are 4-1. Then for South Carolina, they're 2-3, and they've got a 1-game losing streak. So, yeah, once again, for South Carolina being a team that's been a little bit inconsistent, this could be a huge win for South Carolina if they could get a win here. Game's going to be on Saturday, November 7th, 7 p.m. Eastern in Columbia. South Carolina will be your home team in this matchup. Spread goes to Texas A&M by 8 right now. ESPN FPI has got Texas A&M in a close one. 55% is the favorite for the Aggies right there, and that is kind of surprising. That is a really close percentage there, considering the talent gap between both of these teams so far this season. But for your Vegas prediction, A&M is predicted to win by 12. 30-18 is the final score prediction currently out of Vegas. Here's your stat comparison for this game as well. Texas A&M has got 30 points per game, 29 points allowed per game, 252 pass yards on average, 174 rush yards. Then for yards allowed, they usually allow 271 pass yards a game, then 104 rush yards. So the Texas A&M rushing defense has actually been really good so far this season, only allowing 104 yards on average, which, let me remind you, for college football, that is actually really good, especially if you can get to right around that 100 mark. That's really important in being a good team. For Texas A&M, that is a good stat there for them. As for South Carolina, they got 29 points per game, 30 points allowed per game, 215 pass yards a game, 163 rush yards. Then for yards allowed, they usually allow 247 pass yards and 154 rush yards per game. So as far as it goes on the stat comparison, I'd honestly say both teams are somewhat even here. I would say Texas A&M, obviously, both teams are really close in the points per game and the points allowed per game averages. But for Texas A&M, Kellen Mond at quarterback, he definitely he's the best quarterback that's going to be in this game. 252 average pass yards per game is what he usually puts up. And honestly, the rushing game for Texas A&M has honestly been pretty good this season as well, so you can't forget about that. But for the South Carolina side, I just think, for the Gamecocks, they just have been really inconsistent all season long, and that's the main problem for South Carolina, is that they just can't get 2 wins in a row, and that's something that they definitely have to do if you're going to be a good team. And so for South Carolina, that's also just why this is such an important game, is to be able to flip the momentum and give yourself a good postseason position. Here's some key points for this one. Texas A&M, Kellen Mond, he's their quarterback. He's had a great season so far. There's no doubt on that. He really hasn't thrown any interceptions, and his completion rate has actually been really good so far. So for Kellen Mond, he's a quarterback definitely to watch out for in that SEC West and in the SEC in general. I'd probably say he's a top 3 quarterback in that conference. And Kellen Mond, he's got a ton of potential. We saw his stats last season, and we saw how well he played as a very young quarterback. And this season, there's really not been much disappointment. He's put up a great season so far. South Carolina has had some success, but once again, I've said this a couple times already, they're just inconsistent. They need to be more consistent, and this offense in general has got the talent. They've got the talent here to be able to put up a good season. They just have not been able to execute that. I expect a lower scoring game here, though. I think this is going to be a defensive game between both of these teams. I will see a lower scoring one. Obviously, Texas A&M has got a great offense with Kellen Mond. In general, this offense is good, but I just think This is going to be more of a defensive one. I see both defenses battling it out for this match. I mean, I think Texas A&M does get the win in the end, but it's going to be close. South Carolina is going to hang around to this game. Halftime score is going to be 17-10. The Aggies will lead it by a touchdown at the half. But in the final, 24-13 will be your final score. Texas A&M will get the win in the end by 11, which will be a good win for the Aggies. But obviously, I think South Carolina will hang around quite a bit in this matchup. I just don't see South Carolina winning it is the problem. I mean, we've seen some good games out of South Carolina in the past, but I just don't think that they get the win over Texas A&M here. But once again, I'd probably say if I were to give you a percentage as to who would win this game, I'd probably say 80% chance that Texas A&M does get the win here in the end over South Carolina. But do let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game. Let me know your score predictions, all of that down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But once again, thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this preview, slap a like on it, subscribe as well if you are not already yet. Really helps out the channel, and I'd really appreciate that. Because always, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I'll see you all later.